At Fortune, we created a residence called the Academy, which the residents call the Castle. And I said the most important thing is to create an atmosphere of trust. And Jason Williams talked before about not trusting. And that's such a key because change doesn't happen until people begin to trust. And you create an atmosphere for trust. And then you can get into the demons. He said to me, are the demons, is that religious? And I said, if you want it to be, but not necessarily. The demons are the things that people can't get out, and they hide and they escape from the reality, and they retreat into the world of drugs and alcohol. And until you can get the trust, and until they can explore the demons, they're always going to get there. As one man said to me, at the age of 10, I found weed and wine, and from then on, that's how I manage my pain. So we have to create trust and an atmosphere that gives people the opportunity to dig into themselves. Somebody said to me, you did it, and we said, no, we created a place, but you dug into yourself and you found the solutions. Hopefully, the federal man this morning, who was he? Whatever, creating federal.
Paul Fishman, right.
They're creating federal halfway houses. I got chilled at the thought of them just transporting a prison environment to a community environment when it's the same. You have to have a new environment. And I must tell you, I've been to the New Jersey privatized halfway houses. We called it Rikers Island Light. And if any of you are here, I'll be happy to discuss that with you later. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
My name is Hannah Elise. I work at the Hudson County Correctional Center. I think my voice is loud enough, Jim. Come on. No? Like I said, my name is Hannah. I work at the Hudson County Correctional Center. I work with the population before they get out of jail. And the two things that I'd like to mention today or point out today is when they're in court, when they're at the adjudication process, a lot of times, a lot of these people have detainers and warrants in other municipalities, and if we can comprehensively deal with them while they're in court, being adjudicated for whatever they have going on in Hudson County, this way when their case is done with us, then we can transition them to a community. However, a lot of times you'll find that they're stuck in jail even though we're done with them because they have a warrant for $50 in Linden. Like I have one gentleman who was released from us on the 4th and is still in jail because he has a $50 warrant in Linden. Linden won't come pick him up, but they won't release him either. You know, so if once they're in court, if that adjudication process, if there's some way that they could be ran, you know, across the state, and whatever they have pending in other municipalities, if that could be adjudicated as well, this way when they're done, they can move on out of the jail and into the community to get the second phase of treatment. And the second thing that I think we really, really need to take a look at is the mandatory minimums. You know, you have people incarcerated that are going to prison for mandatory minimums on drug charges when they have a drug problem. And they've been caught more than 3 times with a drug, being charged with the drug and convicted, and now they're going to prison for years and years and years. And what happens when they come out? It's revolving door, the same cycle. So I think those are the two things that we need to really take a look at, mandatory minimums and adjudicating the person on a whole as opposed to county per county.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Cornell William Brooks. I serve as president and CEO of the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, which is a social justice think and do tank. We are very proud to have worked very closely with Assemblywoman Bonnie Watson Coleman and Senator Sandra Bolden Cunningham on the prisoner reentry legislation of only a few years ago. We also work very closely with Governor McGreevey and Dean Todd Clear and many of the people in this room. I will simply say that we're looking forward to having a conversation about the future, and that in thinking about a conference on prisoner reentry, I think it's important to recognize that prisoner reentry presumes both prison and reentry. We need not presume either. That is to say, prison is not always necessary or appropriate, and so looking at ways to reform how people get into prison, whether it be the school to prison pipeline or the preschool to prison pipeline, and then on the back end, certainly collateral sanctions. With that said, I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Good afternoon. I'm State Senator Sandra Bolden Cunningham, and I represent the 31st District, which is Jersey City and Bayonne. You know, I'm glad to be here today because Reentry and working with people who made mistakes in their lives and who deserve a second chance is probably as close to my heart as anything could possibly be. Since I've been in the Senate, I've tried to dedicate as much as my time to this. And I have to say, listening to Jason Williams talk about his experience just reminds me of where the problem lies. We have to change the culture that says that once a person has done something wrong, once a person has paid their time or their dues, they come home and they're still treated like they're bad people, like they don't deserve a chance. We have to change a culture that does not forgive a person for making a mistake and straightening out their lives. And until we start doing this, we are never going to be able to give the real kind of reentry services that we need. And I think we need to talk about that.
Let me see if this one is, this is working. Okay, so we have one more panelist. Just joined
Corey.
us.
Good afternoon. My name is Peter Bariso. I'm the assignment judge here in the Hudson vicinage, and I'm honored to be on this panel to discuss a very important issue, not just to everyone here, but also to the state judiciary. And I'd like my statement to quote that famous legal person, Albert Einstein. "We can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them."
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is our panel. The judiciary, the legislature, the public, and the service providers all represented up on this table. I don't think you can get a more representative group of the problems we face. And the task that we were asked was to dream about New Jersey. What do we need to do in New Jersey to be able to make New Jersey the pride of the reentry agenda in America? So some people already have a chance to talk, and a couple of folks, I mean, you get a panel like this, and you obey what the person says. So, and a couple of folks actually did what I said, just introduce themselves. Let me open it up to people who are burning with an idea of this is where we need to start, and let me ask, where should we start? Bonnie.
For me, I think we need to look at it from the beginning to the end. I'm 100% there with the mandatory minimums. I think we need to look at all the sentencing laws and determine whether or not those laws are the laws that we should be enforcing. I think that we need to look at our communities because these situations start from the sidewalk to the police station to the judge's bench. And we need to be diverting people from the criminal justice system as much as possible. But once an individual enters the system, then the system needs to be accountable for the individual. And we need to ensure that the laws that are already on the books are being sufficiently equally applied, that there's opportunities for anger management, for mediating problems and issues, that there's literacy training, that there's exposure to skills and opportunities to learn something so that when one does exit the system, they have been trained to do something that the market needs. And then as they exit through the system, they should not be dumped into the community. They should come out into the system with the law, in accordance with the laws, giving them access to information, their IDs, their credit cards, their transportation, all those things that are already required. And when they're moving through the system into these so-called halfway houses, these halfway houses have to be substantive and at a high level. They've got to help people become ready to be interviewed for jobs, referred to jobs, supported emotionally and physically. They've got to make sure that that there really is this sane, reasonable, rational, evidence-based process that one goes through. And I think that that's what's missing in New Jersey. And I think that if we start looking at both the substance and the accountability, as well as looking at beforehand diverting people who shouldn't be in prison, especially young people. They go to prison at a young age, we just create adult criminals. So for me, if I'm going to dream of a better world for New Jersey, then I'm going to dream of one that diverts those who shouldn't be in prison. I'm going to create a system that is supportive of those who are in prison. I'm going to recognize the significance of having family involvement while you're in prison and preparing you for the exit. But I'm also going to be concerned that once you get out of that situation where you're told when to get up, when to go to sleep, when to watch, when to do whatever, that you are given the support over a period of time that helps you to re-enter the system so that you can become a productive human being, recognizing that God created you and you have value. So that's my dream.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd say one of the things that I want to see if it can be replicated is what they're doing in Hudson County, which is truly amazing on multiple levels. I visited with Jim. He took me into the correctional facility, and they have a therapeutic community there, which, congrats to Integrity House, Jim, and Oscar Avila's. It was the most amazing program I've ever visited. Woman after woman was like, this has changed my life. I feel like I realize now that I'm alcoholic. The correction officer was like, I've changed from this. But it's not just that. They coordinate on multiple levels. When people come out, Frank Mazzo, who's the head of the county reintegration program, is involved in the facility in the integrity program. As people come out, the county funds their housing and other services. Frank is actually on the ground there when someone's, missing curfew. He's hearing about it. Then when they come through the housing program, Jersey City, through the leadership of Jim and Mayor Fulop, is set up through Jersey City Employment and Training Program, which we just started a month ago. And we've already had a bunch of people get jobs. It's an employment, substance abuse, and life coaching and case management program. But they always talk about how programs have to coordinate, and it's easier said than done. Frank, who is sort of the nerve center of this, he works for the county program. He's also consulting with our program, so he's getting information on clients automatically sent to him from our database every morning, where he can coordinate with the county, the welfare office. So it's really all these pieces. Now, I'd